How's it going, YouTube? This is Gray 1951, and I'm here for episode 5 of Genre Files, which is a project that some of my friends and I are doing, um, where we pick a genre of film every week, and we just pick a film and talk about it. And it's all being done to, basically just share ideas, share thoughts, and try to recommend films to each other. And we're basically just doing what we all love to do, which is talk about films. So the project was started by my friends Forker Ball and DVD Collector 1974, and they and I invite anybody who wants to join in. You can just jump in at any time. There's a whole list of the genres, which I don't have with me right now, but this week the genre that we're doing is black and white films, which in my mind is not exactly a genre, but it certainly is a category of films, and it's a category that I think is extremely important for the history of cinema. I think it's even more important today because there are so many people who will not watch any film if it's not in color, and I find that to be very sad because they're missing a lot about the history of film, the history of the movies, and I think that I would like to convince as many people as possible to take a chance on black and white movies, black and white TV shows from the 50s, 60s, and just try to reach out, branch out a little bit. Okay, so the film that I've chosen is one that I absolutely love. This is really one of my favorite movies of all time. I'll sit here and just drool if I don't contain myself. So I'll try not to do that. But I am a total fanboy about this movie. This is Dark Passage. Dark Passage from 1947, filmed at Warner Brothers Studios. Dark Passage, directed by Delmar Daves. Or I guess it's not Delmar, it's Delmer. Delmer Daves, a director I don't know a lot about, but I've certainly heard that name before. He also adapted the screenplay from a novel by David Goodis. Now, the film stars Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall. Bogart and Bacall made 4 films together, all at Warner Brothers, starting with To Have and Have Not, released in 1945, or maybe 1944, I'm not sure. And then they did The Big Sleep, released in 1946. Then this film, and then in 1948 they had Key Largo. Now, of those 4 films, this is actually my favorite, and this is the only one that was not a critical and financial success. I don't think it made money. I think if it didn't make very much, and it had a lot of mixed critical response. But I don't know. For me, it's just wonderful. The first time I saw it, which hasn't been that many years ago, I think I saw it on Turner Classic Movies, and just absolutely fell in love with it. I think that it's a perfect film to be in black and white. The cinematography is just absolutely incredible, and it's very innovative. It's very expressionistic, and it's almost dreamlike in the way it's put together. So here's the story. It starts out with a truck driving away from San Quentin prison, and in the back of this truck there is a barrel, right, with the top is open. You can see a person's hands holding on to the rim of the barrel. So somebody's inside, somebody's hiding there. And whoever this is starts to rock the barrel back and forth so that it eventually falls off the back of the truck. Luckily, the truck is open, right? And it falls off the back of the truck, rolls down a hill, hitting a whole bunch of stuff, a bunch of rocks and everything, and eventually landing in a creek. Now, as the barrel is rolling, you start to see a first-person perspective of the person who is in the barrel. You can see him looking out as the barrel spins around. It's really incredible. The person inside the barrel is an escaping prisoner named Vincent Perry, and he has been convicted of killing his wife, and he broke out of prison. And so as he extricates himself from the barrel, and we don't see his face, we just see his body, the sirens are starting to wail, so there is known that a prisoner has escaped. And so this man, to make a long story short, I don't want to give a lot of plot away, but he eventually is picked up by a woman named Irene Jansen, who is played by Lauren Bacall, and this woman has been painting in the hills, and she just happened to be there at the right time, and she heard that there was a prison break, and she finds this man on the road, and she gives him a ride into San Francisco and into her apartment, and she proceeds to help him. As it turns out, Irene Jansen has been following this man's trial, Vincent Perry's trial. She has believed him to be innocent, and she also, her father was convicted of killing his wife, her stepmother, and she has always believed that her father was innocent. So when she heard about Vincent Perry's trial, she just took a very personal interest in it, and she has a way to help him now, and she's going to do it. It also turns out that they know some of the same people, so it gets very involved. The plot gets very, very convoluted. So anyway, without giving too much away, Vincent Perry is played by Humphrey Bogart, although for about the first 2/3 of the film, you don't see Bogart's face. The photography is done from Vincent Perry's perspective, okay? So in other words, you hear his voice speaking to Lauren Bacall, speaking to other people that he comes into contact with. You never see his face. You see close-ups of everyone else's face, especially Lauren Bacall's beautiful expressive face, which is a pleasure to look at. And really her part of the film is actually bigger than her husband's this time. So he eventually is put in contact with a plastic surgeon who will change his face for a relatively low amount of money. This is a plastic surgeon who's working on the back alley, right? And so he gets a different face and he plans to escape. But as the story continues, not only do he and Irene Jansen end up falling in love with each other, but he also gets involved trying to find out who it was that framed him for killing his wife, because he didn't kill her. And the story, as the story goes on, he finds out. So it's incredible. I mean, it's interesting because this first person perspective was done earlier. I think it was in 1946 or 1947. I'm not sure. In an MGM picture called Lady in the Lake, where Robert Montgomery was a detective, and everything was being shown from his first-person perspective. So all these people acting in the film, Audrey Totter, other actors, they were all just looking at the camera and talking to supposedly the detective. And the only time you would see his face is if he happened to be passing by a mirror or a window. So you didn't see that much of his face. Wasn't terribly successful. It's a very innovative idea. But in this film, they did it for part of the film, and then they finally, after Bogart has been transformed by plastic surgery, then we do get to see his face. And I just think the film is wonderful. Everything about it, I think that it, I don't know, to me it's just the best. One of the gee, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm probably babbling like crazy here, but I find the noir aspects to be much more pronounced in this film than they were even in The Big Sleep, right? Where you have all these characters that are just a little bit quirky, and especially Agnes Moorehead. Agnes Moorehead has a supporting role in this film, and it's one of the weirdest things she has ever done. She is such a good actress. And you see, it's interesting because in the latter part of the film, after Bogart's face has been revealed and they no longer need to use the first-person perspective, the director still has a lot of close-ups, and especially when there's a lengthy scene where Bogart's character is having a long discussion which turns into an argument with Moorehead's character, a character named Madge, and it focuses on her face almost the entire time. Close-up of her face, showing the expressions and all the turmoil and the conflict and the anger that she's going through. It's just absolutely fascinating. And I just, I don't know. This is one of those films where I simply can't imagine that color would do anything to enhance it. It wouldn't do anything to enhance the story, or certainly the way everything looks. I mean, it's just one of the darkest of dark films, and I just love it. So I've babbled enough. It also stars Bruce Bennett, who a couple of years before that was in Mildred Pierce. It also has one of my favorite kind of a character actor, did a lot of B films, a guy named Tom DeAndrea, who later on became fairly famous on TV when he had a recurring role in a TV show called The Life of Riley, and he's very good for comedy. But in this one, he's not funny. But he has a very distinctive voice and a very distinctive face and a way of relating to people, and he's just perfect for this film. And I guess that's all I want to say, really. I can't recommend it enough. If you have any interest whatsoever in film noir, if you would like to see Bogart and Bacall in one of their strangest films, I would recommend Dark Passage. Okay? So if you've seen this, please let me know. And in the meantime, Saturday night, I've already started drinking. This is wine in a Coca-Cola glass, which is probably a sacrilege, but what the heck. So I'm having a good time. Hope you are too. Please respond. Let me know what you think. Thank you.